Great day, attractive thinker. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. I am delighted to be back here with you. And we always say this, and I want you to not forget to do this because we have a powerful message for you today. It's a continuation of our last episode, Trust Beyond the Break. This is part 2, but I want you to subscribe. Click that subscribe button. I want you to click like. I want you to turn those notifications. Look for that notification bell. Turn those notifications on. And I want you to click the share button and share this episode. Why? Because people need to hear what you're hearing. If it's moving you, it'll move them. If you keep coming back, they'll keep coming back. And we will be able to support attractive thinkers around the globe with living life beyond the break. Welcome my co-host, Tichet Bradshaw, to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Mindset Monday. Thank you, Dr. Toni Hatton from the Attractive Thinker Guru for joining me today for another episode of Beyond the Break. It is so amazing to be able to do this, and it's certainly a great day to be alive.
It is. It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. You hear us say this all of the time. As long as you have breath, you have all of life inside of you. You have all of the possibilities available to you. So we want to be grateful for that. It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. During our last episode, we were talking about trust beyond the break, how to trust the process, trust that what is taking place in your life and in your experience beyond a break in a success or beyond a heartbreak, a disappointment, something unexpected that takes place in your life. There's something happening in you. And I believe, Tichet, and we've said this so many times throughout the years, I believe that what happens in us is more important than what happens to us or outside of us. I remember one of my friends, their child was going before the school board. Something happened in school and they had to go before the school board. It wasn't even their fault. And this young man must have been like, I don't know, he looked like he was about maybe 13 or 14, something like that. And I knew when she contacted me, I knew that this young man hadn't done anything wrong before she even told me what happened. So you want to have that kind of character so that when things come to you or things are presented to other people about you, they know without a shadow of doubt that you didn't do that, or that didn't take place like that, or he or she wasn't a part of that. So I knew immediately that this young man didn't do anything wrong. So she began to tell me what happened, but she needed a witness. She needed a character witness. And she called me in to the school board to be a character witness for her son. And I'm standing there before these board members, and I began to share with them my experience of this young man. And one of the things that I said that moved the people in the room, I said, now, my concern, I didn't show up because I'm concerned about what happened with this young man, what's happening to him. My main concern is what's happening in him as a result of this. What the decision that you guys make today will determine how this young man sees himself throughout the rest of his life. It will determine how far he can go, or it will determine how far he believes he can go in life. It will define him in a certain way, because things that happen in our childhood, they do define us. Now, when we become adults, our coaches tell us, and people around us who love us tell us, oh, that experience in your childhood doesn't define you. And that is the truth. But when we're children, it does define us. It does affect us. And my concern was not so much what happened outside of this young man, what happened to him, but what happened in him. And when we come before you today, and we're talking about trusting beyond the break, it's not so much what happened to you, attractive thinker, as what's happening in you as a result of that break. Because what happens in you can define your decisions going forward. It can define your choices going forward. It can define how you see yourself going forward. It can define what you believe about yourself going forward, what you believe about life going forward, and what you believe about God, because it changed me. My experience caused me to challenge what I believed about myself, what I believed about God, or what I believed about life, or even its possibilities. You know how you're young and you don't have that sense of fear in you, and you think anything is possible, you can accomplish anything, and life is working all for you, and it's just going to all work out. And as you begin to experience life, and you experience those heartbreaks in life and those disappointments, you pull back a little bit. It's like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought life was for me. Maybe life isn't for me like I thought it was. My defining moment happened in my life, I I had to second guess my relationship with God. Maybe God doesn't have my back. See, defining moments can break you down. They can break your trust down. And what we're talking about today is, don't lose your trust. Trust is very, very valuable. Trust determines what decisions you make in your life. Trust determines how far you go in life. It determines what opportunities you say yes to and which ones you automatically say no to. So trust is a key to your success. It's very valuable. And when you trust life beyond the break, you open yourself up to a life that you never thought possible. What if, attractive thinker, the first part of your life was what you wanted for your life, what you thought your life was all about, or how you thought your life should be created or should look like? And what if after this break, be it a heartbreak or a break in a success, what if after this break, now life wants to show you why it created you in the first place? Now life wants to show you what it has to offer you. Now life wants to show you how good it can really get. Because think about this for a moment. If something bigger than you created you, don't you think it has a great big plan for your life? Think about that. When I first started out, we leave our parents' home, and we call ourselves creating our lives based on our terms, and we have these dreams and things. But life also had a plan for me, and I didn't know that. I had plans for me, but life had a plan for me as well. And I had to learn. You don't just go into the break trusting the process. I had to learn to trust the process, and had this awareness that maybe life wanted to give me something better than I believed for myself. Tichet, talk to the attractive thinkers about trusting beyond the break. Why is that a good option?
Yes. Trusting beyond a break basically flips the script.
Mhm.
When you go, like you said, in the beginning of your life, you're building it based on what it could do for you. And then it flips the script. That break flips the script. Last week we did talk about how it's not just a break in a success or a heartbreak. Sometimes it's like a break in a pattern, a break in what you're used to, a break in the break between the elevations. We talked about a lot of different things, but when you start looking at that break and it flips the script, it does cause you to question everything. And the thing about that flipping the script is that now you start to see contrast. You start to see definition. See, this is why we say live intentional, because when you are living intentional, you are building mental muscle as you go along. That experience in that break is causing you to change something, to shift something, to do some heavy lifting, do some things out of the ordinary that you wouldn't normally do. It's causing you to break out of the comfort zone, to step outside and think outside of the box, which I say are the perimeters of the standard way of living. It causes you to think beyond that, because it's extraordinary circumstances cause for extraordinary measures. So you have to rise above it. When we're on an airplane, we come upon turbulence in our life. We're not just, at first you get afraid. At first you're like, okay, what do I need to do? And then you start preparing and start trying to pray your way into some smoothness and try not to have fear. So that's where you start exercising faith, and you say, and then you hear the pilot saying, okay, we're going to rise above this, so we need to go higher. Sometimes your break is calling you to go higher, and we don't recognize that. So when that defining moment comes, where you have to remember, it is the when we say defining moment, it is something that is causing you to build definition in your life. It's causing you to etch out some stuff in your life that maybe was supposed to be gone. It's causing you to bring forth some stuff in life maybe that was supposed to be stronger. It's exposing your strengths to you, things that are letting you know that this is why you're here, this is your purpose, because we're not here for no reason. You know, we're not here just skin and bones and just walking through life mindlessly, eating anything, thinking anything, watching anything, receiving anything. I mean, a life like that, you might as well walk it in sleep. You might as well sleepwalk in life. But when you talk about those defining moments, and you think about that definition, those things are not easy. But when you trusting in the process, and you trusting in that character building moments, and you're trusting in what's being taught, and again, you know that life is working for you, not against you, and not things are not happening to you. You start looking at that definition, you start saying, okay, I could push a little harder, I can do a little more. Dr. Toni, you were talking about skydiving last week, and I do not want to go past that because it set me on fire. And you said you had to get to a point where you had to let go from the inside. You had to find that mental peace in order for you to be able to manipulate the air so that you can fly. And next thing you know, not only are you flying, but you're doing tricks and you're having a good time and you're laughing. But as long as you were fighting against what you were facing, as long as you were fighting against everything, adding resistance to that air or adding a resistance to that experience, trying to hold on to what you thought you knew, it made it harder for you. It didn't allow you to go as high. It didn't allow you to feel the ease of it or the calmness of it. And I was so fired up for that whole week, learning to let go on the inside. Trusting is really about letting go, the art of letting go, not leaning into your own understanding. Sometimes understanding that there's a higher way, there's a higher thought. You know, we come upon situations that might irritate us or might cause us to question who we are, question who loves us, question who's around us. We go through those situations. But when you allow yourself to just take a moment and breathe, when those contractions hit, you have to be strategic. You got to take a moment and breathe so that you can push properly and not push in panic. So when you start to hit that breaking moment and you feel that irritation, you feel that discomfort, and you start assessing, then you can figure out how to rise above it. You can figure out how to make a decision that is out of wisdom and not just out of understanding. There's a difference. It was so amazing to hear you talk about that experience and to talk about how, you know, you were able to learn from the trainers that you have. And this is why we're here beyond the break. We have been living beyond the break. Toni and I, we're not just coming from books. We're not just coming from magazines. We did not just Google search this. Mm-hmm. This wisdom that we give is out of our experience. So when we're saying something to you, it's coming strict from the heart. This is not a script. We are not sitting there saying, okay, you say this and I'll say that. We are coming out of our spirit based on our experience and based on our defining moments. So when we cut, and it's not that we don't go through anything, because we do. God knows we go through things. Everybody goes through things. To me, what you go through and how you go through it make a difference in the world with how you're looking at it. Because if you're looking at it through a victor and you know you're coming out in the end, you're looking for the victor solution. If you're caught up in the sorrow of it and the hurt of it, and you're caught up in being victim, even if the solution steps right here in your face and somebody served it to you on a platter, you'll say, no, it's okay. I don't need it. I've got it. You'll block your blessing because you don't understand that that was a gift given to you. You'll say, no, I'm wait. You ever hear that story where the people had a flood and they were waiting on the roof, and they said, God is going to come and deliver me. And the people came by with a truck when it was hardly any water, came by with a truck and said, hey, do you need any help? They said, no, God is going to deliver me. God is going to help me. And then people with a boat came by and said, hey, do you need any help? And they said, no, God is going to come get me. God is going to deliver me. Then the person raised to the roof, and they said, a person with a helicopter said, hey, come on, get on this helicopter. Let me help you. And they said, no, God is going to deliver me. God is going to help me. So when they drowned and they asked God, why didn't you help me? He said, I did. I sent you a truck. I sent you a boat, and I sent you a helicopter. You denied that gift. You denied those gifts. So sometimes things don't always show up in the way that we think they're going to show up, but we have to keep open and trusting that God will allow his spirit to show us what we have, what's in front of us, show us the blessings. So we got to get out of the habit of blocking all those, blocking our blessings because it didn't show up in the way that we want. This is going to take the art of letting go, because sometimes you got to let go of what you thought life was going to be. You got to let go of your idea of what you think it's going to be, and receive the great in order to receive the greater. So Dr. Toni, when you did the skydiving, you had to let go from the inside, which means you had to let go of your thoughts and ideas about that experience concerning skydiving, and you had to take in the wisdom and the teaching that was given to you. You had to trust the process, and because you trusted the process, you were able to fly high. And I believe that that's what life is teaching us, through our definitions, through our defining moments, that if we just let go and we trust, there's life greater. There's a greater life, a life and that more abundantly beyond the break. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Awesome, Tichet. You know, so many things you said that stood out to me. I had to jot down some phrases so that I wouldn't forget these powerful points. You talked about a victim and a victor. And when you said that, I immediately understood and wanted to share with attractive thinkers that how you see a thing, you hear me say this all of the time, how you see a thing determines everything. If you're going throughout life as a victim, you see yourself as a victim, because have you ever heard the phrase, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are? You might want to write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are, meaning you're the observer. You're the one looking out into the world. And what you see is based upon how you see you. What you see is based upon who you are. If you're a victim, you're looking throughout life through the lens of a victim, and you're picking out all of the things that align with victim. You're choosing and making decisions for cars and houses and relationships and people, making decisions and setting goals for your future based on a victim's mentality. If you're wearing a victim's lens, if you're looking at life through the lens of a victim, you're pulling out all of the subpar opportunities. Like, the world is full of whole cookies, and all you see is broken cookies. All you reach your hand out for is a broken cookie. And you're bypassing all of the whole cookies because that's what victims do. It's just the way it is. That's what victims do. Victims wouldn't dare think that they deserve a whole cookie. They would always find a way to justify reaching for the broken cookie. Think about that. That's the difference between a victim and a victor. A victor has on victor's lenses and they look out into the world and all they see is victory. All they see is possibilities. All they see is what they can accomplish, what they can do. Yes, challenges are present, but what they see is the victory. What they see is the goal. And they understand that they are equipped for the challenges. The challenges don't come just to kill you. Think about that. Think about that. You know, God says, I have good thoughts of you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but give you hope and a future. So, why would He mix things up in life that would kill you along the way? Along your journey to hope and His good thoughts and His plans and His future that He desires to give you, why would He set things in the road that will kill you along the way? Think about that. But if we're looking at our path and our journey and our life through the eyes of a victim, everything can kill you. You see everything as a lion, a tiger, and a bear. You don't see opportunities. Your bypass, it's like the opportunities are holograms. They're illusions. You see the image, you can make out, a little bit of detail, but you can see right through it. It's almost invisible, but you can still see the presence of it. This is how we look through life, walk throughout life, and this is what we see on our path when you're looking through the lens of a victim. The opportunities are standing right there, but they don't look real. They don't feel real to you because of the lens that you have on. As soon as you change the lens and put on your victor's lenses, now all of the opportunities have life. They're in 3D, and all of the obstacles and challenges are like that fainted, invisible hologram. You know they're there, but you know you're a victor and you're going to conquer them. I want you to think about this for a moment. Because Superman knows who he is, when he encounters a challenge or an obstacle or a villain, he doesn't say, oh my God, like I'm so afraid. Oh, this is going to be the end of me. Oh my God. No. Even if he gets knocked down, because he knows who he is, he gets back up. He doesn't question, oh my God, like I got knocked down. Maybe this is the end of me. Maybe I shouldn't have fought him. Maybe I don't have the power to defeat him. You never hear him say that. You never hear him say that because he's a victor. That was established before the first punch. That was established before, the first blow, before the villain even showed up on the scene. He knew who he was. So the question is, who are you? You have to establish who you are, attractive thinker, before life knocks on your door. Before life knocks on your door. So we were talking during our last episode about trust beyond the break. And I had to point that out because, Tichet, you talked about victim or victor, and I want us to understand that we have a choice in that. You get to choose, like you go to the eye doctor, you see all of these eyeglasses on the wall. You can choose the victim lenses or you can choose the victor's lenses. It's up to you. It's your choice. Whichever one you feel as though will support you in accomplishing what you want in life, you get to choose. So, along with that, in order to trust, that trusting requires a letting go. You said something to share. You said a break causes you to question everything. That's what my defining moment did to me. It caused me to now, wait. I got to check everything now. Okay, the things over here that I thought were important, they just have to go. Do you know during a break, some things just fall off of your life automatically? You don't have to do anything. Sometimes the priorities get shifted. The things that didn't matter are now in the forefront. They're the number one things. The things that were the number one things, they've now shifted into the back. They don't even matter anymore. Because a defining moment, a break will change you. It will change how you see yourself and how you see the world. But trusting requires you to let go. It's just a part of that process. In order for me to trust that life has my best interests at heart, I have to let go of the belief that life is not for me, that life is out to get me. I have to let go of the belief that these things, my dreams and goals will never happen. I have to let that belief go. Trusting requires letting go. Now, letting go sometimes can be the tough part, unless it's a defining moment and you just throw your hands up. You say, I'm done. Whatever. Okay, you can have it. If you want it, you can have it. Y'all just come and get it because you've experienced a break, a defining moment. A break doesn't just mean something broke in your life, something broke in you. When you experience a break, something breaks inside of you. And what we were talking about last week was about that spirit inside, that spirit man inside. How can something break inside of you? We think about something breaking outside of us. You break a pencil, or you break your eyeglasses, or your phone breaks, or you break a piece of glass or a vase or whatever. We can physically see and experience what that's all about. Well, what are you talking about, Dr. Toni? Something breaks inside of me. Your treasure is inside of you. Your spirit is inside of you. Your heart is inside of you. If the way your heart is, there your treasure is. And a treasure is not something that's on display all the time because it's valuable, it's sacred, it's secret. So there's an inner being as well as an outer being. And when you experience a break in your life, your inner being breaks as well. Your heart breaks. When the heart breaks, something leaks out. Think about that. So if that's true, we have an inner being. Like Tichet said, when I went skydiving, my family took me skydiving for my birthday. And I was determined. We had a little bit of time, like maybe 30 minutes, he let us fly around for 30 minutes. But before we all got suited and booted, we had our suits on and helmets and all that good stuff. But while we were sitting there waiting for our turn, he performs a show. I call it an air show, right? And he's just manipulating the air. The air was just constant. It was doing what it does. It was coming up out of the floor. And I mean, in such a force, whereas if he was to let me go, I would just blow all up beside the walls and spin it around. It'd probably go all the way up to the ceiling, come back down and crash on the floor, because that was my first experience with that kind of power. But he was an expert at it. And I mean, he glided up to the ceiling and just stayed there and hovered. And then he went all the way back down full force, and then he stopped and hovered over the floor. I mean, he was an expert. He would flip and he would spin around, and I'm just sitting there marveling at how he could manipulate energy, how he could use the energy didn't change. It was just constant. I was just marveling at how he learned how to manipulate the air. So when it was my turn, I was determined I was going to get something out of this experience. I was determined I was going to at least experience what that felt like, right? So I go in, and he's holding on to me, and I'm holding on to things because the wind is blowing so fast and it's coming up out of the floor, and you couldn't wear any jewelry or anything that would be hanging off, phones, eyeglasses, none of that, because it would just fly away. And he pulled me over to, over top of the air that was coming up out of the floor. So I began to hover, and he held onto my arm so I wouldn't fly away. And I was, determined. I had my arms in air position, and my feet and my legs were spread, and my arms, in a certain position. You just don't have your arms out in front of you. You got to cup them and I'm there, and I feel the air, and I still am not balancing with it. It's almost like I'm fighting with it. I want you to hear that right there. It's almost like I'm fighting with it. I feel the resistance, and I was focusing more on making sure I stayed afloat and not flying away, making sure that I was balancing out the air, and I was focusing on the external, and I wasn't focusing on the internal. And I heard a voice say, "You let go from the inside." And I said, let go from the inside. And inside of my body, I felt it was like that, like an exhale, quick exhale. And all of a sudden, I began to balance and manipulate that air to the point where he didn't even have to hold my arm. He was like, "Oh my God." It was my first time. He says, "Oh my God, you got it." And I was just levitating above that air. And it felt so fantastic and amazing. But I discovered another being inside of me that I had to tend to, not just if I had to tend to that part of me, to hover over air, I also have to tend to that part of me when going throughout my life, when making decisions in my life. I have to consider that spirit part of me, because letting go happens in the spirit first before it manifests in the physical. And I had to, I was excited to get in touch with, I actually felt it just like you feel your physical human body when you're doing things. I felt my spiritual body while I was hovered above the air. And it let me know that there is something inside of you that needs to let go. You can say it in the physical. You say, I open my hand. Look, there's nothing in my hand. I let go. I let go. But are you still holding on inside? You let go of the trauma, or you let go of the pain, or you let go of the decision that you made, or the regret, or the guilt, or the shame. But is there still something inside that's holding on to that? I want you to think about that. Letting go starts in the spirit first. One of the other things you said, Tichet, is you have to let go of what you thought life should be. We all had a plan for our lives, but the thought that life has a plan for me that's greater, that's beyond my wildest dreams, is beyond my imagination. Wouldn't you want that? Isn't that something that you could get excited about, because you didn't create yourself? You know, man is still discovering self, you know, and we don't know what's best for ourselves all of the time. So wouldn't you want to know what this great power that created you had in mind for you? I remember I went to, it was a leadership meeting with some of my peers. We had formed a team, and we were keeping each other accountable for some things. And we were at a leadership meeting, and they were asking the question, what do you want out of life? What do you want? What do you want? What do you really want? And we got down to the core of some things. And one of the phrases that I wrote down was, I want to know what God intended for me when he said, Toni, it's time for you to be born. What was that intent? What was that all about? I'm sure it was about more than just eating and sleeping and going to homeschool, work in church, and being mediocre and average, and chewing gum, and living life and breathing. I'm sure it had to be a greater plan than that. And in order for me to figure out what that plan was, I had to learn how to live from my spirit. I had to learn how to trust my breaks, trust my defining moments, trust that process beyond the break. It's not easy. You hear people say things that seem like it's so easy. Or you might say, well, oh, that's so easy for you, Dr. Toni, to say that. Oh, that's so easy for you, Tichet, the visual encourager, to say that. Because you have this, or you have that, or you've done this, or you've done that. It has nothing to do with what you have or don't have, or who you are or who you're not. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with your decision that you make to be the absolute best that you can be with the life that you've been given. That's what it has everything to do with. That. It's a decision. It's a choice. I want what's mine. I want the more of life. I want life in it more abundantly. I want to see who I can become. The person that I am now, I created her based on what my experiences were, based on what my information was. But I want to see what I do. What did life have in mind for me when it created me? So that means I have to let go of what I've created, what I've placed as a priority, what I deem as valuable, and make myself available to what my mind can't even conceive right now. Make myself available to what my mind can't even conceive right now. I want you to think about that. And that calls for trust. It takes trust to make a decision, or to make a choice, or to step out into the unfamiliar. You have to trust something, because something that's not no, it's unknown, it's unfamiliar, it comes with a little bit of fear. It can be scary. You don't know anybody, you've never been there before. You have to step into trust. That's when trust is at its best in your life. Back to you, Tichet.
Yes, that is so true. You said such a mouthful. When you talked about that trust, and it starts with a decision, that decision is crucial. And that decision is based on, you know, you, like you said, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And wanting more than what you think you know. When you talked about the leadership and you talked about them asking you that, what do you want? And it caused you to get to the core of who you are, what you want, and why you are. When you get to that core, you realize there's a bigger inner game at work.
Mhm.
And the inner game is the most important of it all.
Yeah.
When you talked about the skydiving too and letting go, you had to let go of your physical sense and
Mhm.
rely on your inner spiritual sense
Mhm.
and rely on your wisdom and your insight in order for you to fly high, in order for you to experience the power. We all remember our first time experiencing power, rather it was in church or rather you went to, a seminar and somebody spoke with great power. We all will never forget that one thing that caused us to shift the way our life is, to
Mhm.
shift what we think about life, or we get some new information and it causes us to think anew.
Mhm.
We all remember that. Another thing, Dr. Toni, that you talked about, you remember we always talk about superheroes,
Mhm.
and we talk about what happens when that superhero come up against a villain.
Mhm.
That superhero doesn't cower into a corner.
Mhm.
That superhero turns inward into what he is. He, like, let's take Superman for instance.
Mhm.
When something goes on, he doesn't second guess who he is
Right.
because he's already gotten to the core of why he is. When you get to the core of why you are,
Mhm.
and things happen, you don't have to second guess your nature. You just walk in it, but it takes trust. So
Mhm.
he so and I know we're talking about movies, but we can get tons and tons of inspiration and guidance from some of these things if you look behind what your normal natural eye can see. That's why we always talking about having sight versus having vision. You know, he didn't second guess and say, is this for me to take? Or, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. What are we gonna do? And going crazy. He'd go, give me a minute, be right back. He'd go get into his stronger self,
Yeah.
and then he's off to handle that. It doesn't matter how big it is, how wide it is, how tall it is, how loud it is, how much it growls, how much people think it could hurt. He's able to go above the norm because he trusts in the power. He trusts in the power that has been in him the entire time he was walking as Clark Kent. He sat there and he had a normal life as Clark Kent, knowing that he was carrying the Superman within him, knowing that he could fly beyond great heights to what the people can see. Knowing that he can do things that the natural physical senses can't even really understand. The normal man can't even understand how he's able to manipulate air so that he can stop airplanes, he can stop moving trains, he can pick somebody up off a building, how he can cause somebody to be off. How do you have two people flying off the ground when he come and capture you and both of you are flying off the ground? Now, not only is he operating in his power, but you get to experience his power with him. And I'm sure that was an amazing of itself. But you never see him power in the corner. You never see him question, I know I'm Superman, but is this the time to do it or not? Because there's no time for that. When you know who you are, you understand what that time called for. So I'm saying that to say, if you're listening to us, Listen, like, subscribe, and share, because this message, even if it's not for you right now, this message is a seed that will sprout up. And I'm here to let you know that when times get rough or when times go hard, you go harder. You understand who you are, access the power that's within you, face your fears, stand up, stand up against it, knowing your trueness and why and your why, and beat that thing with everything you have in you. Sometimes it don't take for you to have anything extra outside. Sometimes it don't take for you to have this person right here or that person to confirm you. He goes in that booth by himself, changing to his real self, and he go out there and he handle that. And when he's done, I'm sure he feels fulfilled, and he's not sitting there taking time, having that ego and gloating and being like, yeah, I did that. He's like, are you all okay? Why? Because his purpose is greater than what his ego is telling him. Sometimes we get so caught up in ego that we allow our egos to beat us over the head, and that is our kryptonite. That is the one thing that's causing us to be tired and have weakness and look at our life as well as us, because we're so busy thinking that we're failures. What is that? What is thinking that you are a failure? Why are we thinking that we are a failure when we have yet to finish life? If you're listening to this, you're not done yet. You're not finished yet. There's still more to conquer. There's still more to do. There's still time. If you are listening to my voice, there's still time. You have breath, you have time. You know, so while we are so busy questioning every little thing, when it is meant for us to just walk in who we are, the core of who we are and why we are getting in our own way, questioning it, because a lot of times we're questioning it based on limitation. We have been taught limited thinking. A lot of times, a lot of the people that taught us from their own limitations, taught us from them not able to be able to break free in their own self. You know, I had a conversation with my daughter at one point. I had to tell her, I said, I'm sorry I enforced all of my limitations on you, but now let me teach you different. Now that I know better, let me teach you better. You might have to consider throwing away everything I taught you in order to receive what I'm about to tell you. Because as I grew, I shared with her my growth. That's what we want to do. We're not growing just for us. We're not going up to the top just for us. We're not doing all this just for us. We're doing this so that we can recover who we are, so that we can remember together why we are here. We are more than a conquerors for a reason and a purpose, and we have to share what we learn about that. So the core of who you are is not selfish. You know, self-care is necessary, but the core of who you are is not selfish. As a nation, it helps the earth for us to understand who we are and why we are. It helps each other to understand who we are and why we are. When we're out here serving people, we want to serve with the best of us. We can't serve with the best of us if we're too busy in the corner beating ourselves up because one little thing did not go our way. We can't reach our fullest potential pouting because we're sitting there like, I didn't get this, and they said I could have that, and I couldn't get this, and I didn't do that. I did everything I was supposed to do. I don't understand how this still happened. We don't have time for that. We need to see, okay, what did I miss here? Okay, what's the lesson in this? Okay, I'm in pain right now. Let me get to the root of the pain. Dr. Toni, you and I talked about over the weekend, where there's smoke, there's fire. You know, because a lot of us, we are getting so used to fanning the flame, and we're getting tired to keep not fanning the flame, fanning the smoke. We're just trying to get the now to be comfortable. We're not even getting to the root of where the smoke coming from. You having a whole conversation talking about, girl, yeah, I went to the store yesterday, and you know, I was picking out something, and what is that smell? Yeah, because we went and got something, and what is that? You can't even think straight because you're doing like this. You're being distracted by this. Instead of saying, wait 1 second before I give you what I'm getting ready to say. Where is this smoke coming from? We have to seek and find We have to knock so the door can be open. We have to receive the wisdom that's calling forth. We're not meant to go through life like this. I would be tired too.
Mm,
I was tired. I was depressed. I thought that I was mentally ill. I
mm,
was mentally tired. You know, a
mm,
lot of us taking medication for being mentally tired. Yes, there are some people who are mentally ill, who got chemicals that are not working the way that it's supposed to. By all means, follow your doctor's advice. Do whatever you have to do. But don't even be lazy with it. Research it. Research what you're taking. Research why you're taking it, because some of you will realize you're not mentally ill, you're mentally tired because you're living like this. Get to the root of where that smoke come from. And then when you get to the root of that smoke come from, learn to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. You want to get to the core, because where there's smoke, there's fire. What I mean by that is that fire, say you're in the house, right? And you're on a different level and you smell smoke. You don't sit there and be like, it's smoky in here. Can somebody get that? No, when that confirmation calls, you get up and you go seek and figure out what's going on. You go get that, you go see where that smoke coming from. And then you start putting the fire out. First, you have to determine which type of fire, because you can't handle all fire the same. You can't put water on an electrical fire. You can't do that with a grease fire. There's a certain way to put out certain fires, and you have to have the wisdom to know which fire you are dealing with. But once you put out that fire, if you done covered it, smothered it, or watered it, however you got to do it, you put out that fire, then you have to go even deeper to figure out what sparked it. Once you figure out what sparked it, let's say it is an electrical fire, you spark it. When you call the fire department and they come in, first thing they do is they spray the water. They're spraying the water in the house, trying to put out the fire from the fire hose or what have you, right? But once they put it out, they say when you start to see white smoke, then you know the fire is basically out. When you start to see white smoke, as long as you see black smoke, you gotta battle. But once you see white smoke, you put out the fire. But that does not mean stop and go home. That means, okay, what we're doing is good. Let's put it out until we see no smoke, and let's go and see let's go assess the area and see where that fire is. And this is where you see them rip out the walls. This is where you see them go through the walls to make sure nothing went on in the walls. The little spark that we missed is in the wall to relight that house on fire. Because you can have a fire in the kitchen, and something could have happened in the wall. You put out the fire in the external part of the house. You then go, oh, okay, I did it. You then say, okay, I put out the fire. You go lay down thinking that it's okay, and next thing you know, it's restarted. This is when you go through the same situation over and over and over again, because you did not do the inner work. You did not take part in the inner game. You only handle the external. When you go and look and make sure it's nothing hiding behind the walls, you get to the foundation of the house to make sure all is good and clear. That's when you know that you put that fire out. And then you say, okay, what made this spark like that? A lot of times it's imbalance. A lot of times it's malfunction. A lot of times it is when we're rubbing the wrong thing together, when you're rubbing together the wrong way. You don't ignore that. Some people will duct tape everything they can to get stuff to stick together, and it's not supposed to. Sometimes we just got to replace it with a whole new. Throw the whole thing away. Throw the whole thing away. We cannot keep operating in dysfunction, living a duct tape life, because eventually you're going to end up in a fire over and over again. And then you're going to develop a woe is me, and you're going to say, oh, my whole life keep going up in smoke. My whole life I've been doing this, so much so that now you think life is this. So then you start teaching people, yeah, all you got to do is this. And all you got to do is this. Then you start attracting people who do this. So you and all your friends do this. And y'all sitting here negative self-talk. Y'all sitting here trading ideas of low vibration. Y'all sitting here just talking about surface stuff. Just, oh, I got the same problem as you. Girl, you tired? I'm tired too. What are we doing? We just going to rest and talk. Rest again, rest again, rest again. Before you know it, you're just laying there dormant. What's and you're laying there dormant? No, get to the root. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
Yet that's fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers. I want y'all to understand where there is smoke, there is fire, and you have to trust that. Trust that and understand where there is smoke, there's a fire somewhere. And when before the process, before the break, we end up tolerating. When I kept seeing you do like this, that's a tolerating. That's something that we do. We've been conditioned to. We've learned, that's a learned behavior. That's something that we have done over and over and over and made a habit out of it. Now we're comfortable, so comfortable with it. It's a part of our life. It's just what we do. When I go to the market, I'm doing like this. When I'm in the library, I'm doing like this. When I'm on my way back home, I'm doing like this. It's just what we do because you entered into tolerating, because you never got to the root. When you get to the root beyond a break, see, that's a break does that. It shifts you from tolerating to now really authentically living, fully living, not just
Yes.
tolerating, but fully living. And before the break, you were putting up with so many things. It changed you. You became a person who tolerates. You became a person who puts up with. You became a person who had duct tape, staples, masking tape, thread, string, rocks, wood, rulers, all of that stuff on your person, because every time you encounter something, instead of fully fixing it, like you said, throwing the whole thing away, no, I don't want to strip my sofa down to the wood and try to patch it together. No, I want a new one. I don't have time to be remanufacturing anything. I want a new one. I have gotten to a place in my life, years ago. I'll tell you this experience. One time my kids went to school. I just got tired of. We had a white sofa set, and I just got tired of cleaning it. I got tired of telling everybody not to be eating in the living room. Don't eat on the sofa. And I would say it, and everybody would look at me like a deer in the headlights and say, "Yes, we're okay. We understand. We're not going to do." And I would take them to school, and I come back home. There's ketchup on the white sofa. One time, my son took a green magic marker and scribbled all over the pillows on my white sofa. When they went to school, when I took them to school, I was at a breaking point. I had enough. This is the first place that people come, that people see when you walk through my front door, is the living room and this white sofa set. It was a beautiful sofa set. Me by myself opened up the back door and drug that sofa set and the love seat out into the backyard to get rid of it, because I couldn't keep it clean. And I spent a lot of time steaming and scrubbing and da 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 da. And for a minute, we didn't have a sofa set. So much so that when we got another sofa set, our kids understood the value of having something beautiful and new to sit on and how to keep it that way. See, beyond the break is showing you how to live life beyond, after a heartbreak or after a success. And sometimes it bring you, these breaks bring you to a point of no return. You're done. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to drag this whole set out. You know what? I'm just going to let this go. Because when you have a break, you're now crystal clear what you've been tolerating, because you get sick and tired. You say, you know what? I'm done. I'm not answering these calls anymore. You know what? I'm blocking this. Or you know what? I'm getting rid of this. Or you know what? I'm not playing these kinds of games anymore. You automatically know, whether it's people, places, or things, what has shaped you into a tolerating mode, a person who tolerates things. I had gotten to the point where I didn't want anything that I had to fix. If it needed to be fixed, it wasn't for me. I want new. I want a new box. I want a new toy. I want a new car. I don't want a broken down car that I have to fix and pray over and hope and wish that it'll get me from A to B. No, I deserve a new one. And it's only until you get to a breaking point. Another story was, I was sharing with my son, every time I come in here, you got toys all over the floor. I really need you to get these toys up. You know, here's a toy box. Here's some shelves where you can organize things. And I kept telling, it was like the same week, you know, a couple of days in a row. You got to clean this stuff up. One day I went in his room and he was playing with some jacks. You know, remember back in the day we used to play ball and jacks in the ball and all of that. Well, one of those metal jacks was on the floor and I stepped on it. And I'm telling you, it was like, that was the break for me, the breaking point, right? We talking about trust beyond the break. That was it for me. I said, oh my God, like, and it scared him. He jumped up. He didn't know what had happened. I told you to get this stuff out of this floor. And I'm throwing wrappers in the trash and slinging stuff. And as soon as he saw me march out that room, you know, your kids know you in trouble when your parents walk out the room because you know they coming back. He jumped up and he was cleaning all this stuff up. But that was life beyond the break. I was tolerating. And my breaking point was I hurt my foot on something that I was tolerating, that I was walking around and stepping on. It sometimes pain, see, a lot of times we shun pain. We don't want pain. We don't want pain. I don't know anybody that loves pain. But pain is what brings us to the point of giving birth. Pain has so many benefits. It's an indication that something is out of alignment. Like Tichet said, getting to the root. How will you get to the root if you keep sugarcoating and tolerating your pain? You'll never get to the root of it. Trusting life beyond a break is throwing yourself to the wind. It's like, I don't know what's best for me anymore. So I trust you to place me where I need to be. I trust you to bring to me the opportunities and the blessings and the experiences that you want me to have. Because when you think about the goals that we can have, you figure you have a plan for that. You know how to make that happen. If you want to be an author, I know how to make that happen. But what if there's another path to you being an author? A beautiful path with flow and ease that you never even considered. Wouldn't you be open to that? Wouldn't you want to trust beyond the break? Wouldn't you want to trust that something better that I haven't even imagined yet can manifest and happen in my life if I just throw myself to the wind, if I just let it all go? The beliefs that I've had up until this point, the thoughts that I've had up until this point, the words that I've spoken up until this point, the conversations, the people that I hang around up until this point, if I just let it all go, I wonder what will come my way. I wonder who I would encounter, who would cross my path now that I'm free, now that I've removed all of the clutter.
Yes.
I wonder who I'll naturally attract. This is how you trust beyond the break. You trust that what's coming is far greater than what you've ever had before, what you're letting go of. A lot of times we don't let go of certain things because we don't believe we can get any better. And we can attest to that in relationships, in jobs, in positions, in homes, in cars, in opportunities. We will hold on to the broken thing for fear that we can't get anything better than the broken thing. That I don't deserve anything better than this dysfunctional, broken, twisted thing that no longer serves me. That's the absolute best that I can have. And for fear of something becoming, us receiving anything worse, we'll hold on to something that we willingly know it's not serving us any longer. And you get to decide, attractive thinker. It's an individual thing. It's a personal thing. You get to decide what you let go of and what you hold on to, what's working and what's not working. You have to, and this calls for being brutally honest with yourself. Is this working? Am I getting fruit from this? You know, is this making me better? Am I better by having this in my life? We have to ask ourselves these tough questions and trust that life beyond the break is trying to get something to us and not something from us. Tichet, tell our attractive thinkers how they can stay connected with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, pathfinder, trailblazers, and groundbreakers, those who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that they can create a new vision for themselves. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can ignite you, uplift you, and enlighten you so that you can live a life of fulfillment. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tichet. Attractive thinkers, I want you to remember this, that trusting beyond the break means letting go. Letting go can be a physical thing, but don't forget it's also a spiritual thing. You have to let go inside. You have to sit with yourself and be okay with letting go. Because at the same time, see, two things are happening here. You're not just letting go for the sake of letting go. When you let go, your hands are now open. Your heart is now open to receive. So you're letting go and receiving at the same time. It's not like you're going to let it go and then you're just out there by yourself with no replacement. You know, you're letting go and you're making room to receive. Trust beyond the break. We all experience breaks in our lives, be it a break in a success or a heartbreak. We have to trust that it's all working together to make us greater beings so we can be, do, and have so much more than we ever imagined. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your Break the Cycle specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. Visit our homepage. Place your email address and your contact information there in the box. You're going to receive a series of 5 videos, one each day for the next 5 days, to show you how to turn your problems into your solutions. I want you to visit our website, www.theattractivethinker.guru. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the like button, turn on the notifications, and share it with your circle of influence. You always hear me say, my life's work, that's always to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're doing. Think attractively. We'll see you soon.